welcome back to the Two First Boxing Show, episode 6. We've obviously just had an amazing weekend of boxing, culminating basically with Josh Taylor winning the undisputed crown against Jose Ramirez. This is the second time that I'm now recording because I completely forgot about my tea, left it all the way over there. Professionalism, we love it. Basically what I was saying in the last take was just that there was things that I'm like looking into doing, potentially bringing some people onto the show. I'd always, that's basically the ultimate aim for what I want to do on here. But yeah, I think what I was saying is just, for one, it's the space. I mean, the timing as well. I just don't really have a lot of time at the moment. Currently doing this at Monday, almost 3:30, and hopefully we will manage to get it out later today whilst I'm at work. Yeah, it is building up, I suppose, with everything that I've been doing recently, with going back to work and everything. But yeah, always happy to do it. This is one of the things that I'm trying to build up, as I was saying, and get back into the swing of things by interviewing fighters. Still want to sort of like keep my hand in boxing journalism, as it were. And yeah, I would hope that at some point I will be able to bring somebody onto the show. There is somebody that I have in mind. And yeah, hopefully that will be good. But yeah, it's just going to have to wait a little bit. Just as the same as all the other content ideas that I've had for Two Fairs. Everything's just going to take a little bit of time. Need more cameras. I need a camera that isn't just a DSLR because it's a nightmare to record just myself. I prefer just like a little vlogging camera to do something like that. So there's time, there's money. But it will just take time. It's fine. So we're moving on. We're obviously going to touch on Josh Taylor's win against Jose Ramirez. I don't quite know how to word it, but it was a closer fight than what I had thought it would have been. Not to necessarily that I thought Taylor was just going to completely walk through him. I didn't think that would be the case. But, I thought it would be a little bit more clearer than, I think it was like 114 to 112. All three judges had that score for Josh Taylor. Just pause that. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't even feel like Taylor really switched off. I always felt like he was in the fight, and it became a very close fight. I just expected a kind of wider points margin, potentially that stoppage to come from Taylor. But this is the thing that everybody has been talking about. Oh, blimey, excuse me. What everyone has been talking about is the refereeing from Kenny Bayless, and I 100% agree, because look, every time there was a knockdown that was, Ramirez was knocked down twice. We've got round 6 and 7. Both of them times Kenny Bayless gave him so much longer than a 10 count. Was just stepping in the way and was nullifying everything that Taylor was doing really well, I felt. Hats off to Ramirez, because he fought his absolute nuts off. Not a performance that he can be ashamed of. I think he can go back to the drawing board. As we'll come on to it in a little bit, if Taylor does decide to vacate and move up. Wish him well in doing that, and Ramirez can very well easily become a champion again. And it's definitely one of my favourite fights that I've seen Ramirez in. Postal wasn't overly impressed. Hooker, I liked him in that fight, but that was more, again, a sort of like 50-50, and then caught him with a shot. This one, he fought like a lion throughout the entire fight, even after getting dropped. And the second one, I believe, looked like a very sharp knockdown. Looked like he was kind of out of sorts for just a few seconds, and it was that refereeing from Kenny Bayless that kind of allowed him to recuperate. Nothing bad to say about Ramirez at all. Thought he fought a brilliant fight. Josh Taylor is now the undisputed world champion. I believe Britain's first ever 4-belt undisputed world champion. First Scottish undisputed champion since Ken Buchanan. An incredible feat, and it's just such a shame that no UK broadcaster, as it has been mentioned throughout the last week or so, even a little bit longer because I touched on it in a previous episode. It's a shame that no UK broadcaster picked up this fight, and it just went to Fight TV, because it's one of the best fighters that we've got. I would probably put him as the sort of like pound for pound number one in the UK rankings. And yeah, I've been excited about Josh Taylor for a couple of years now, ever since I kind of saw the O'Hara Davis stoppage from him. He's just gone on and improved more and more, and he has plenty of options now. He's been talking about the Terence Crawford fight, to kind of vacate the belts, move up to 147 and take on one of the best pound for pound stars in the sport, Terence Crawford. I agree that he is a pound for pound star. I'm just, when you look at the kind of resume of Crawford, it's kind of just a bit, who has he actually fought? I don't know. A faded Amir Khan and a faded Kell Brook, potentially the best opponents that he's got on there. So Taylor could very well get that fight. He's with ESPN. I think it's an easy fight to make. I think Crawford would probably, seeing as Pacquiao has got the fight with Errol Spence, that's two really big names in the welterweight division that are not on his radar right now. I believe that he could take that fight, and unsure really. I just know that I'd like to see that. That's a potential option for Josh Taylor that he really wants, and I think it can be made. Whether we'll see that next or not, I don't know. Teofimo Lopez was talking about potentially moving up after his fight with George Kambosos Jr. to take on the winner. I think Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez, I'd love to see it at Edinburgh Castle. I think that would just be a fantastic fight. I probably prefer it more to the Crawford fight. Not that I'm a Crawford hater, I don't know. I just know that both guys are really big for the weight, and whether Taylor wants to stick around. I know Lopez has kind of not flirted with the idea, but has mentioned about moving up to 140 pounds sooner rather than later, and I think 140 would be a really good weight for Lopez. Punches like an absolute mule. Fantastic fight. Really, really good fight for both guys, both have kind of, Crawford's been around for a few years, but Lopez has kind of made his statement in the last year, and it's exactly the same with Josh Taylor. They're both, coming off career best performances, career best opponents. I that's the one that I would prefer to see. And I think, Taylor's always kind of wanted a homecoming in a way or something. I'm pretty sure it was Edinburgh Castle that he wanted to face it. Because they've got a really nice venue in the outside bit during the summer. So, would love to see that fight. That's the one that I'm kind of pining for. We'll just have to wait and see if that's what happens. We were going to touch on Eglinton Molina, but honestly I haven't watched it. I've seen a couple of bits and bobs, and I can kind of imagine how the fight would have gone. I said obviously in last week's episode that it would have been a statement if Eglinton did get the stoppage, and he didn't. He obviously managed to get into a points victory. Molina's just a veteran of the sport, and Eglinton, with no disrespect, trying to say this in a very respectful way, you can kind of suss out what he's going to bring to the table when it comes to a fight. Good to see Eglinton, making his way back. And I think there's definitely some big fights out there for him. Would love to see the Cheeseman rematch, but I think they're eyeing up still Cheeseman-Fowler, and then the winner of that has to face Troy Williamson. So, I don't know. Maybe Kieran Smith. Wouldn't mind seeing Eglinton-Kieran Smith if that can be made. There's probably some other fights that are not off the top of my head. Kieran Conway's coming off a loss, so... Kieran Conway and Kieran Smith, I don't know. Maybe them two should face each other, and then the winner goes on to face Eglinton, because they kind of need to bounce back. Not too sure. But just glad to see Eglinton. He's a very welcome addition in the 154-pound region. Look forward to seeing whatever is next for him. I might actually watch that one. We're going to move on to, obviously, this weekend's boxing. Start off with Haney versus Linares. It's one that has kind of been spoken about for a while now, and it's definitely taken its time. Whether we get to see, a fully motivated Jorge Linares or a kind of lesser motivated version of him, one that's been kind of just sitting around for a big fight, since, his, I don't think it was back-to-back, was it? So, he lost to Lomachenko in 2018, moved up to 140, won the fight against Abner Cotto, but then lost against Pablo Cesar Cano. And then, he's had a couple of wins, but Carlos Morales, that's what I think the fight would have made really interesting for Linares against Ryan Garcia, because, Ryan Garcia struggled with Carlos Morales and Linares, brought him down in 4 rounds. So, it's going to be an interesting fight between him and Haney. Haney, I think, is a little bit more of an all-round fighter. He can box, he can bang when he wants to, but he's very... doesn't always kind of like to just stick it on people as much as you'd like to see him to. That was exactly the case with Gamboa. Just didn't want to take him out, or was failing to take him out. So, I don't know. I think, Haney points is kind of a clear pick for this weekend. Don't know if he'll really stop Linares. I think he's got the power to, but he's added Ben Davis into his game. So that's going to be an interesting take to see what they did. Ben Davison obviously just coming off the set. I'm pretty sure it's Ben Davison that he's added to his team. I think so. Ben Davison obviously coming off the win with Josh Taylor against Jose Ramirez. If that is true, I'm pretty sure it is. I'm sure I've read that right. That'd be an interesting addition to the team, because I do feel that Haney, is a good fighter. He does have some things to work on, especially kind of not necessarily head movement, but just defense against kind of aggressive fight. It'd be interesting to see how Linares plays this one, whether he can actually put Haney under pressure, and whether Haney will shine like a diamond or he'll crumble under the pressure. It's yet to see. I would obviously go for the former. I think that's the more likely result. And I think Haney points, I think that's probably what you'll see here. Seems to be the right sort of step up at the right time for Haney, similar to the whole Garcia-Campbell fight. Just good timing, just really good timing. And I love that quadruple of Haney, Garcia, Lopez and Gervonta Davis, even though Davis is now at 140 for this fight, for his next fight anyway. But I just don't see any of them for losing just yet. Have to be a really big fight. I just want to see them all against each other, and I'm thinking potentially they could get this fight done and dusted, and then maybe Haney will fight Ryan Garcia. I think that's the fight to make. They've fought each other a couple of times in the amateurs. So, hopefully that's the case. Hopefully Haney wins this fight. Looks a little bit impressive, hopefully. And then, moves on to face Ryan Garcia. Okay, next fight that we've got. Over on Showtime, I think it is. Really impressed with the Showtime schedule as well. Got some amazing fights lined up. But Nordine Bali versus Nonito Donaire. Love Nonito Donaire. Oh my god, one of the nicest guys in the sport. Don't have a bad word to say about him. Fights like a madman. Will not give in. His fight against Inoue is just obviously one of the best fights in recent years. Won loads of awards for being one of the best fights. And OUBAALI has kind of... how do I word it? Stop-start isn't the right word. But so he captured the title and then defended it once or twice. But that's kind of been about it. There's been a lot of talk behind OUBAALI, and this weekend is really going to be the time to show who he actually is. I remember his performance against Villanueva. Yes, I think that's how you say it. Cannot remember. Watched that on the MTK show, 2 years ago now? Looks really good there. But there was still some things that he needed to iron out. And I think this fight against Nonito Donaire is going to really show who OUBAALI is. But having said that, I just think it's going to be a little bit too much. I think Nonito Donaire just too experienced for someone like OUBAALI, who's 17-0 and 12 knockouts. You know, we were talking about timing in the last fight. I think the timing for OUBAALI is just a little bit wrong. I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope OUBAALI fights his absolute nuts off, fights for his life in this fight against Nonito, because I feel like he's going to need to. Could really, really be a tasty one this weekend between these two. And yeah, I think Donaire just might have a little bit too much. He's always got that sort of thunderous left hook, which could take out OUBAALI, but I don't know if I see that. Maybe he'll knock him down on the way to a points victory. I think that's my prediction. I think. But, you know, who am I to make predictions? I'm not always right, not a lot of the time. Right, we're going to walk through a couple of bits of news. Just going to change that title real quick because that shouldn't be there. We have got, obviously, Fury versus Wilder. The fight is apparently signed for 24th of July at Las Vegas. Yeah, I've been speaking about this with a few people now. I don't know if I'm really looking forward to it, to be perfectly honest with you. I think it's just one of them. It's exactly the same how I'm now viewing Joshua Usyk, because everybody wants to see Joshua Fury. Get it out of the way, get it done and dusted, and then there shouldn't be a barrier to make that fight. I mean, I don't know. It might be later this year. But I think they really liked the idea of doing it in the summer. But I think if they're going to go to Saudi Arabia, it probably works in their best interest to fight maybe later this year. So yeah, Fury versus Wilder, 24th of July. Wilder hasn't changed my mind, but he is looking a little bit better over these past few weeks. Back in training mode, and, you know, has stayed away from posting very bizarre video messages on Instagram or just social media in general. So yeah, they've signed their contracts. They're going to be facing each other. It's just a shame that obviously the fight with Joshua, you know, mentioned it before, it looked like it was actually getting close to being confirmed. Literally, I remember being at the pub and the news was obviously saying that the fight had actually been done and things like that. Next day, Wilder wins arbitration case, fight's gone. Just changes that quick. Wilder not refusing to take any step aside money or something, winning something like 20 million. Yeah, I'd probably do the same. I would not lie. He knows how much money they're generating from Joshua Fury, and yeah, I think Wilder's quite a bit of a proud man from when I remember meeting him as well. Like, he will want his title back more than anything. So yeah, I don't know, it will be an interesting one. I remember when they were talking about that fight being taking place on like Christmas Day in Australia. But yeah, it's just hope that we can get it out of the way, you know. I think Fury will win again. I don't know if it will be as dominating fashion, but I think you're talking fairly close to it. Just took Wilder apart in that last fight, and I don't know if that's the kind of defeat that you can come back from for Wilder. Right. We were going to move on to Anthony Joshua and Oleksandr Usyk, because that fight has now been ordered by the WBO following the news of Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder going to fight for a third time. Great. So yeah, they have until May 31st to agree terms to a fight, or purse bids will be called. Both work with Eddie Hearn, so I'd imagine that they get that fight over the line fairly quickly before purse bids come into play. I know, obviously, you know that Eddie Hearn is Usyk's like co-promoter. But yeah, I think it makes sense. I have changed my mind a little bit. I saw somebody that was picking Usyk to defeat Joshua. I don't know if I really see that happening. I just think he's a little bit too small. Don't get me wrong, I think he's got the skills. I think if it goes to points, it will be a very close fight. But yeah, I think Joshua just has it's just too big. Just too big. It's like, what, 250 pounds for his last fight or something stupid like that? Or maybe it was a little bit light against against Ruiz, but it's just a big lump. And against someone like Usyk, I think is, you know, it's literally going to take one or two shots. The style of Joshua as well, the combination punching, I think to move to take that up against somebody who's like a slick southpaw boxer like Usyk, Eastern European style, I think, you know, Joshua's shown in the past that he has been able to deal with it quite well. You know, you just look at the Klitschko fight, obviously a little bit different styles, but not far off. Yeah, I think the sort of style of Joshua with those combination punches, it's just going to be enough to take out Usyk in the later rounds. But yeah, kind of we expected that news. There's not really too much to say on it. We're not really going to go into like a full breakdown of the fight. But yeah, we pretty much expected that fight would be ordered. And yeah, I suppose we've just got to look forward to it. It's exactly the same way we've got to look at Fury Wilder 3. Get it out of the way, get it done. Let's get Joshua Fury. Or, you know, Usyk Wilder. I don't know. It'll be an interesting one. But yeah, never mind. Right. Last bit of news that we're going to talk about. Really excited about this one as well. Manny Pacquiao is going to face Errol Spence Jr. On the 21st of August for apparently 3 world titles. Now, if you have been following Two Furs for the last few months, you might have seen a piece that I did about the WBA title and Manny Pacquiao vacating it, and then there was Yordenis Ugas, who then picked up the WBA Super, and then somebody else became WBA regular champion, who I can't remember off the top of my mind. So, really confusing situation because there is a vacant title now on the line for this fight. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's incredible from Manny Pacquiao to take this sort of fight at his age, after everything that he's done in his career. You know, you look at the resume of Manny Pacquiao and it is just something of a god. It really is. I think that's the best way to kind of describe it. It's just gone on and on. And yeah, I cannot wait for that fight. I really don't know what's going to happen. I think Errol Spence Jr. is a fantastic fighter. Manny Pacquiao, even at this age, you know, look at his performance against someone like Keith Thurman. Fair enough, Keith Thurman wasn't the most active fighter, but you know, one point considered the best welterweight in the world. So I think, yeah, it's going to be a really fun fight. I absolutely cannot wait for it. Have no idea what's going to happen. Whether this will be Manny Pacquiao's last fight or not, we don't know. Whether, you know, it will just be one more of many. Just cannot wait to see it. It's an absolutely fantastic fight. Brilliant that it can be made even in these sort of uncertain circumstances that we're still in with COVID. Just cannot wait to see that fight. Really cannot wait. And I'm pretty sure everyone watching this is kind of like, yeah, we get the point. You're excited. We're excited too. Yeah, I think it's you know, it's just an amazing feat for Manny Pacquiao to take a fight like this. Could have, you know, Manny Pacquiao's afforded, you know, he's done enough in his career to afford a couple of easy fights now at the late stage of his career, but he's just aiming for greatness and he's already there. That's what I like about him. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. Be interesting to see how Errol Spence, I believe this would be his best opponent, right? I don't know who would be better than Manny Pacquiao. So yeah, see how he deals with the pressure against Manny Pacquiao. Fantastic fight to make in COVID. Really, really looking forward to it. I'm sure you guys are too. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. Or listening on Spotify. Always do kind of wrap these things up as if they're just going out on YouTube or just a video, just because I'm sitting here with a camera and then I'll export it to audio and things like that. But yeah, thank you very much. If you are watching on YouTube, please be sure to leave a like, comment something down below for me, and be sure to subscribe if you're new. And yeah, that's it for this weekend. We'll be back with the Marvel podcast on Thursday, I believe, because we've had a little bit of a cock up. Obviously completely my fault. And then we'll be back with the Two First Boxing Show, hopefully on Monday. So yeah, thanks very much, guys, and see you all soon.